I've timed it horribly anyway. I've timed it horribly.
Oh, no.
The timing's all wrong. Timing's all wrong. Like, everybody, go back to your places. Places, people. Places. We have to start again. Everybody reset the timer. Fucking hell.
We've ruined it. It's over.
We've ruined it.
What you've done.
Good evening, Miss Riffraff. Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Through the Keyhole. The old DP. Please don't ever say that again.
Thing to say.
Never.
Yeah, no. The DP, not the DP.
There was a reel I saw earlier with this a guy who's clearly from like the deep south. In that way, because he's talking about all of this kind of thing. He's got one of these kinds of voices, you know. And he's sitting in the car with who he calls his black friend, but he refers to it as my BBC. My BBC. I'm with my BBC. And the guy's like, no, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't ever do that. What? I'm with my BBC. And he's like, my best black companion. I'm with my best black companion. And the guy's like, no, it's not that. It's not that. It's not that. No. And he's like, what? I just made it up. The guy Googles it and shows it. He goes, oh my God. Get it away from me.
I mean, you're asking for it, aren't you? You're bloody asking for it.
Of course. So welcome to the weirdest opening, I believe, that we've ever done on the podcast so far. We've skirted some quite...
Came in talking.
We've some gratuitous puns that way around.
It's gone filthy. It's gone filth.
Yeah, filthier.
Yeah, filthier.
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 So how you been, mate? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, Tom, mate. I'm good. Yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, you know, it's the days are still 63 hours long, 9 hours a week. So we do what we can. We do what we can in that. We weren't around last week. What was that?
So we have what we can play with.
Exactly.
That sounds even more dodgy.
Well, you know, it's probably on a T-shirt somewhere. And if it isn't, let's face it, we're the people to put that kind of random shit on a T-shirt. Anyway.
Let's have a
merch in the link below. Street hands. Do some street hands. That way around.
Just raise the hand.
I thought you were trying to do your Ricky Gervais in the bath impression. Anyway, so... There are a few things that we want to cover today, not least of all the threatening aspect towards the training that we can take. But there's one thing that we've been working on for quite some time in the background, and there is a little documentary film that we made about the the whole kind of journey that we've gone on with this and the filming and. You know, with the Sherlock cast and crew and all of the other wild and fun stuff in that area. And we were going to Amazon Prime with it, right? Because that's one of the services that, at least I'm aware, that you can make a recommendation for any kind of project. And I've seen on Amazon Prime that they have something called Llamageddon. So if they'll take Llamageddon, they will take anything in that way.
So we're now involved with Llamageddon 2.
Absolutely. Llamageddon 2. Everything's got a bit Balamas. Whoa! But the further we went into doing this, there was just more and more hoops to jump through about this licensing and this country and this subtitled file for this, and then there was an errant kind of heavy breath in this area. The same kind of problems that I was going through when I was trying to do the audiobook version for the monographs, for the first version. Hang on, here we go. Llamageddon is incredible.
Oh, damn.
I mean, I joke, those kinds of movies I adore. I adore those kinds of movies. I think it's great. We've just got a subscription to Shudder, like the horror movie streaming horror movie streaming service, and there's tons of fun stuff like that on there. But yeah, so long story short,
Good
we
call for
both
Halloween.
right. Long story short, we
Yeah.
both just went, "Fuck this." It
It
was
felt
just
like it was time for people to see it, and I suppose in a way it was prolonging the inevitable of it getting out a lot slower than we wanted it to be, because
exactly.
we sort of cobbled it together, the idea of it, a year ago, and then been
Mm.
working on it in that time, and it feels like if we can just show people now what it is, and what we intended it to be. There's still opportunities for us to host it elsewhere. It's just now we can at least get people to kind of review
Yeah,
it, as it were.
yeah,
A taster.
yeah.
A pre-see.
So, I have a trailer for everybody to look at, for everybody to enjoy. So, guys, with that in mind, here is the trailer for what is the Deductionist.
So, what is the Deductionist?
High school. I was reading The Adventure of the Speckled Band as part of my English class, and it was one of those books that had like a bit of history at the start. Who's Arthur Conan Doyle? What was the inspiration? Scene setting? What did he do? His life and times? This kind of thing. I remember thinking at the time, well, if I'd had this guy's skills. Going through some of the details of how he did what he did, and started researching the actual things that kind of spun off from there, or were just related to there, just to see if I could try and be like Sherlock. I don't know where the kind of fascination starts and the emotional damage ends. Hey,
And that's the film.
Yeah, that's it. You've watched it now, so we're going to sign off.
But we showed the film. No, Ben.
We should just take a minute to just applaud your skills in putting together something that is truly beautiful. It looks great, features a lot of our kind of humor, and so yeah.
Stop it. All of you, continue. No, thank you, mate. I mean, it's... Ooh, get off. No, it's very much your creation, mate. It wouldn't be there if you weren't be able to do what you could do, and we've done it together. You put the idea forward about the series, of course, and we've worked on it sort of with combined skills to make it what it is. And then the documentary, as you'll see, is sort of more of our history doing that rather than the series itself. But it does bring the elements of the series forward as well. You'll see the highlights. You'll see the highlights of series 1 and 2 all together in there, so you'll get a grasp. If you're going to watch series 3 and you might not have time to even go through the previous series, or you're only just coming to it, it's a good one to watch just to sort of catch up on all the shenanigans we've had beforehand. It'll give you an idea of the big effects that we've gone and done, and you'll see the places where Ben went and performed. We even go in depth in terms of, well, a very significant thing you said at the beginning of the series was there's a lot of grey area, and we explore the grey area very much so in the documentary, and we even discuss further what went into dealing with that and how we brought that forward into the series itself to explain, the not so perfect side of doing this sort of thing, the non-sensational side of how it actually would look in real life, which is the entire point and the whole reason of why we did it in the first place, because it can be done in real life on an entertaining platform, but we just wanted to show what how it would look in all its forms, as it were. So if you guys want to head down and check that out, it is officially on the DT channel now, the full film. If you want to see it, it will. Well, we're trying to get it around film festivals as well later on, and like I say, we are going to attempt to get it hosted on other platforms. Obviously, it could be 2024 by the time we see those, but for now, it's there. It's available to you if you want to go and watch it. Get on it.
And that's the thing.
The more you look at it, the more you see it, the word gets out. It can get circulated places where we didn't even know to put it. Send some recommendations. What can we do with this?
That's it. Fighting the urge to make a very inappropriate joke there, but. And Matt, that's the thing. Granted, that's the thing. There is an esteem to Amazon Prime. Do not get me wrong, but I just there comes a line where you just go, is this really going to be worth it? Right? All this bullshit when we can just go, hey guys, we've made this. We want to share it with everyone. Let's get involved. So when this goes out live, it's going out live tomorrow. But when the prettied version gets released tomorrow, if you check the description box below, wherever it is that you're watching this or listening to this, you'll find a link to the video itself. Failing that, the channel is called, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong because you run this one, The Deductionist Team.
The Deductionist Team channel, or the DT channel for short. It should pop up either way. But if you type in The Deductionist, it'll bring up obviously your page, and it brings up some of the work we've done together on the Deductionist Team channel. So you will find it. It won't be too hard to miss.
You can't escape it.
Enjoy, guys. Enjoy.
Trying to get rid of our beautiful faces is like, I don't know. My brain, I reached back for an analogy, and my brain went. I don't know. Say something gross. Justin Bieber. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
A fungal infection. What?
So, right, the main crux of today was to look at. I referred to it as threatening training. Threatening training. Oh, hang on. We've got a very weird comment. Hello, sorry for bothering you. I want to offer promotion of your channel, viewers, followers, views, chatbots. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be the best. Flexible and convenient order management panel, chat panel. Everything is in your hands. Turn it on, turn it off, customize. Go to Streamrise RU. No. You go to Streamrise RU and you do it.
Are you crazy?
Yeah. No. You're clearly a boss. You're clearly. This is
the Illuminati all over again.
Exactly. You are the Twitch comment version of a Nigerian prince offering me money. That's what you are.
How much rupee?
How many yen do you want? It connects to a story I was telling you beforehand. Connects to a story I was telling you beforehand. I'll just say this line so you know, but everyone else won't know what I'm talking about. When the money was offered, I was like, I don't care if it's 5,000 yen.
I'll have it.
Exactly. So, in terms of our training, right? The question that's on the table is how much reality, and I got to do this because, like, if you were training in, firearms and firearms safety and firearms usage, you wouldn't go out and get involved in pistols at high dawn. You wouldn't get involved in any drive-bys just for the sake of practicing. So when I'm saying reality training, I mean as close to mimicked scenarios as is possible. And I was sent this post on the vivacious bubbling dynamic of LinkedIn. Ooh. What was that? What was that? That's just come out of my face. That was a weird noise. That was like Scooby Doo on LSD.
Totally got frightened. It's quite spooky.
Yeah. That's my Scooby Doo laugh. That's my Scooby Doo laugh.
Oh, Shaggy.
Anyway, so this is from a guy called Maysam Islahi, who I presume is not English with a name like that. So I apologise in advance if I have butchered your name, but if I knew where you were from, I would try and pronounce it properly. So I've kind of ham-fistedly made my way through the name in that way. And he was talking about the open source material that is available. Hang on, my monitor's about to go off because I've been doing too much work today. Yeah, it's because I use a TV as my monitor. This has got to feel like an ADHD stream. I'm talking about training and then this joke and then my monitor and so I use a TV as one of my monitors, and so if you're not pressing the volume up or changing the channel or whatever, it thinks you're in standby. So if you've not touched it after a few hours have gone by, it was like, we've sensed inactivity. Would you like to turn your television off? I'm like, no, I'm still working. Still working. Anyway, so
stop trying to shut me down.
Yeah, let me work, bitch.
Yeah.
I don't know why I swore. I apologise to all sensitive people.
Apologise to your screen. How it will turn it off.
So, Maysam Islahi, he's posted several links to several open source training materials that are available, that are on the market. I say market, like you don't have to purchase them. It's just things that you can use to try and bring these types of real world endeavors into what it is that you do. So there's flight simulators, there's fight simulators, there's red team kind of game theory simulators in this way, and like one of them is called MITRE Caldera. It's an open source adversary emulation platform developed by MITRE. It's a tool that can be used to create and run simulations of real world adversary behavior. Adversary is the right intonation, so you understand what it is. Caldera is based on the MITRE ATT and CK framework, which is a knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques. Caldera can be used for a variety of purposes, including red teaming and adversary simulation, security assessments and security training. So this is how to train security professionals on how to detect and respond to adversary attacks. So it's the kind of adversarial practices that would plague EP teams or even a potential terrorist situation. And its closing statement is, Caldera is a powerful tool that can be used to improve the security posture of organizations. However, it is important to note that Caldera is not a security solution on its own. It is a tool that should be used in conjunction with other security controls. So, my question to you, dude, right at the start, is what would you assess the benefits to be of bringing this type of reality-based aspects towards your training? Not just for what it is that we do, but towards towards anything. If you were learning to cook a meal to Michelin star standard, would you do it under time constraints to mimic the effects of a restaurant? These types of things. What do you see the benefits of that to be?
I think it's good because you experience the pressure sort of in real time, don't you? Because you can you know something to the best of your ability, but it's like an exam. You can revise and do mock papers fantastically, but the pressure of an exam room for some people can really,
I'm sorry to interrupt your flow, mate, but like I needed to put that on. Does it smell like? Can you smell spam?
Is she talking about the previous one?
Carry on, sir. Carry on.
Yeah. So, like in an exam room, you can perform completely differently. People who are really smart can fall under the pressure of like time constraints or being sort of asked to if you're in a kitchen, asked to bring a meal out, asked to do this, that sort of thing. There's a whole lot more that comes into the real world than just sort of knowing it. Experiencing it is another thing, and so you're not necessarily going to experience something to the same way by just rehearsing it in your head. Having a kind of a sort of a formula where you can replicate those environments, something where, like this tool, to replicate the idea of pressure and real elements and threats within that role. Threats as in, like you say, like the most taking it to its real form, like you say, pressure in a kitchen, in an office, meeting deadlines, having, if you've got an audience, like, yourself, like I've seen you rehearse certain things and you've told me how things work and stuff like that, but it is so dependent on the audience, what happens on the night, that kind of thing. That could be a pressure in itself. If this tool could provide things like that, in a sense, a sort of a reality check to a specific role that you're undertaking, then I think that's all the better. Even if it's a sense of crumbling, you then know what you're going to feel. There's nothing better than knowing beforehand how you're going to react under a certain type of pressure, rather than finding out later on and not reacting particularly well, because you can learn to manage that. Then you sort of get preemptive tools out of it. You can then learn a different way, not just learn what you know, but learn about yourself in that scenario, and how you might conduct yourself, or how might react, or what effect it will have on you. So, yeah, to sum it up in a much more shorter way, I think it would be a really great tool. I think you can be really fantastic. That's what you kind of need, isn't it? You sort of need the glasses to come off and just see the real world and how it would be.
So Craig says, if it's all online, how much of it's real world? If you can control your state and see it as being online, how much does it actually replicate rather than being in the real world, unless it's VR, right? I mean, these are all good points. And just to kind of connect to what you were saying, in terms of a shorter explanation, this is the podcast very much for getting on your high horse and talking about shit that you know. Right? This is the place to do it, mate. It's to be actively encouraged. And
I think it's sorry, just to put something into that.
Please, do it.
From what Craig said, I suppose this is sort of like the middleman. It's not quite reality, but it's a step further than the imagination. It's sort of, you use your imagination to feel like, pretend it's all real, but having that tool, I suppose, gives you the next step up before the real thing itself, and it can only be beneficial, unless you really are. It's just, well, if it doesn't affect you, or if it doesn't do anything for you, then this sort of stuff won't do anything for you in the long run. Then you'll have learned that. In a way, I suppose you'll know how you learn best.
100%. There is, and there should always be a kind of balance to the material. If you are just adding pressure for the sake of pressure, then depending upon the skill that's being taught, you're not going to be able to learn as well. But if it's pressure that's targeted, if it's pressure that's directed towards a specific skill, a specific idea, then these types of pass-fail situations are really going to help you to achieve like a physicalized embodiment of what it is to take on this skill. It's like, I can imagine when I was like 7-8 years old, I imagined myself to be a Power Ranger, and I beat up several thousand putties and Rita Repulsa.
Which one were you?
I was always the green one. Always the green one. Yeah. I just love the sword. Loved it. That was great.
Fucking great dagger. Yeah.
It was awesome. And then he obviously went towards the White Tiger Zord. I had the White Tiger Zord when I was a kid and everything. But that's the power of imagination. And yet, if I was placed in a room with several thousand putties, as myself, not being a Power Ranger, I would get my arse kicked. I would get my arse kicked. You know, to give
Unless you
to
kept
give,
that dagger.
unless I kept the dagger, because let's face it, Alpha and Zordon, they were bloody useless. You know, in that,
Yeah, well, one was a head in a jar, and the other one was what a fucking
a
Bosch
highly
microwave.
strung C-3PO. That's what.
Yeah.
Ay, 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 ay. You know. Anyway, this is going to become a rant
He
about the
learned
bloody
shit from
Power
your dad's
Rangers.
garage, wasn't
Exactly. Of course it was. Of course it
Yeah.
was. But in that vein, like to give a kind of a real world analogy, I've been off and on training in martial arts for decades, and when I was 17-ish, I was third party, like third wheel in a situation where a friend of mine, who's I was about to say his actual name, but we haven't spoken in years, so he's statistically speaking, he's probably not going to watch this. His name was Kieran. And his name is Kieran. He's not dead. Was going out on a date with a girl called Gemma, and we were walking through a fairly rough part of Stoke-on-Trent, which, as it's pretty rough anyway. This was a rough part of Stoke-on-Trent, Braidley, right? I don't know if how familiar you are with that area. It's not a pleasant place to be. and as we're walking through, Gemma has clearly previously upset some girl. And they are rolling around on the floor fighting, and I go to pick up my friend's girlfriend off the floor to stop the fight, and I get jumped, right? And there is maybe 10 or 12 lads, 10 or 12 of them, just giving it to town. Like, I don't care what kind of martial artist you are, the maths on that means you are taking a beating. That is what's happening. Like 10 times 2 fists, 10 times 2 feet against my actual 2 fists and my actual 2 feet. You know, not putting knees and elbows in there and all of the things that they were using to hit me around the head with. Anyway, that's the kind of a diversification of the training, and yet I still managed to walk away, right?
Yeah.
In that scenario, that's because of the reality-based aspects that we were bringing to training. During the classes in that day, we would get towards the practice of a technique, and then whoever we were sparring with at the time would say, right, do you feel comfortable? Yes. Cool. If you don't defend this, I am going to punch you in the face. That is going to happen. And it's such a good situation because you're guiding somebody up to the point where they have that type of comfort with it, and then you go, here is a real world experience of what it is like to walk the line of an adrenaline dump. Which can happen with information that exists in here. Right? What was the last kind of high pressure test you took? Whether it be a theory test or when you were at school or whatever it was. What was the last high pressure test that you took?
Probably my driving lesson.
Driving lesson.
Test.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. So the theory aspect to it.
Yeah.
You know, when I'll speak from my experience. You tell me about yours in that way. You go through the books. You go through all of the, the kind of simulations. Click on it when you spot a hazard.
Yeah.
In that way, and when you get towards the end of the test, you're like, I don't really know what I've done in this scenario. I don't really know if I've spotted a hazard in that way. And yet, when you get in the car, you are hyper aware of what it is. But when it comes to the retrieval of cerebral information, facts, figures, stats, recognizing signs, all of this kind of shit, was there ever a moment or two where you reached for an answer to a question and your brain was like, I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. And you just you know it, but it slips due to the pressure of the situation. It's sort of just because I think it may have been my second time taking the test. I hadn't taken it too seriously the first time. I probably went in a little bit overconfident, having just like, I've got the app and I've looked at the app once. I should be fine. Fuck that up. So then coming back the second time, there's now this pressure of, don't do this again. You've come here a second time now. It's costly. You don't want to waste your own time. don't fuck it up. And that playing in the back of your head, you don't know what that'll do to you at the time. You think you might be okay, you'll say have the same sort of confidence, but really you also got other elements in the mix. So that was there. And it made certain things, you doubt yourself. You can't double down on anything.
100%. And you've just described it there perfectly. Pressure for the sake of pressure. If you go, I've looked at the app once or twice, I should be fine. That is just pressure for the sake of pressure in that way. And yet, when you go into it after having properly revised, via whatever method it is that you chose, but to give it its due diligence, to give it its thought in that arena, you still go into the theory test feeling the pressure of, this is an important exam. If I fail again, this is another 40 quid down the drain, which we ain't exactly flush with.
You don't want to just be throwing it away you want to make it count for something, don't you?
Exactly.
As British folk, you don't want to waste a penny, do you? You want to be, no.
Word.
Everything out of it. Yes.
Word. And that's the streetest I will ever sound, and that's the kind of dynamic in that way. There is this. I mean, don't get me wrong. It has. There have been a number of studies that have irrefutably proven that the increase of pressure leads to a lesser degree of cognitive function in that way. But when you get into the minutiae of what it is, that is just pressure for the sake of pressure. In that way, like for example, if we were in a martial arts class, say for example, and in this hypothetical, we've been to the exact same amount of training sessions, we've done the exact same thing, we are at the exact same journey of our martial arts class, and if one day I go and just punch you in the face. I don't.
Every day, everybody. That's every day.
You be quiet. I don't care. I don't care if you're Bruce Lee in that scenario. You are getting a punch in the face. In fact, there's been a number of stories. I say number like there's been loads, 2 that I can recall, by which the training methodology between Bruce and his students was such that surprise was going to be the key to the event, and a couple of Bruce's students were actually lucky enough to punch him in the face. They then have the adrenaline dump, and when he fights back, they're like, "Oh fuck!" and nothing kind of works by default. So. There is a fine line to walk between it in that way, which is why it is so important to understand whether the pseudo-scientific aspects play a part. We've ranted a lot about the downfall of YouTube and BuzzFeed and these articles in terms of spot these 6 things to understand if I have this, right, to that end, which I bought the other day just because of the front cover of the magazine itself.
That's cool. I like that.
Right. For those of you that are just listening to this, it's BBC Science Focus magazine, and on the front it says, "How to catch a liar. Lie detection has never worked until now."
Ooh.
Boom. And then
get her open.
We go into the first part of the opening page, and it says, "We've been getting lie detection wrong for 100 years. Now scientists are trying to fix the problem." Already, you're backpedaling. Already. You're already doing it. And then it goes through one of the fallacies, then it goes into why words matter, based on the work of Professor Albert Vrij, who tried to... granted, some of the things he's saying around words are, there's some verifiable stuff around that, but this is the guy that pioneered a baselining method, and you're like, you can't spot lies just from looking at the differences, in this way. And the more you look at the kind of studies that they're citing, or the experiments that are and the experiments that are taken in that
Yeah.
way, the less the mimicry of real world situations are brought in. Because when we've gone through lie detection games like we did for pipes, like I do for a lot of my training things, it's done under the acknowledgement that these aren't real world lies that would occur in that way. What you are detecting is the minute changes in behavior that within that specific context you can reason out to be a lie. That's very different to a situation where you're involved in, a kind of instinctive rapport, a back and forth, an engagement, a conversation, and then be asked to critically analyze where the lie was in that scenario. There is a reason narcissists and these kind of charismatic individuals are able to get away with the kind of shit that they do. Sorry, mate, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's why in pipes when we did that, your context is key. Exactly, very much so. In pipes, there was a lot of moments where we would have you talk about how to do these techniques or explaining the techniques. But I remember you were quite passionate about making sure that people got the real life closer as to the real life events of those scenarios in play. And so that's why we had the actors as well. That was what I thought was good about pipes. And in comparison, it's good to this tool that you're mentioning here about, getting that step closer to reality, talking about it, and those videos, like you say, like on YouTube, where it's like 6 techniques and that's it. That's all you need to know. No, that's not it at all. You kind of need something towards that end goal, that sort of, the end reality, as it were, as close as can be, because it will never compare.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And the only thing that we can do to create those kind of situations, like some of the directions that we gave the actors, which still sounds snooty to say out loud, but it's what we did. It was create this kind of scene.
It was loose directions, wasn't it? And they would go forth with it.
Exactly. It was words to the effect of create this kind of scene, and at one point, someone lie. If it is that you actively choose to lie as a part of your dialogue, just remember what you said so we can make sure we've got the right answers to turn it into a test of that kind of way. But also, if you don't want to lie throughout the whole thing, don't. Right? If no lie comes to you, don't say one. Right? That's a real world conversation mimicked
exactly
in that way.
Yeah. Precisely. That's what you kind of need, don't you? It's like talking about examples of pressure, though, playing into a scenario. I know you said about tests, and I mentioned my driving test, but do you remember when we were doing Hero School and how much we prepped for lessons? But I remember when, we're talking about a hypothetical group of people wanting to train, and we've got a regime to train with, and then turning up on the day with people we know who would come to train with us and turning up for the class, and then suddenly they throw out, well, I want to concentrate on this. Is there something I can, is there a workout I can exchange from that one? Because I've done the cardio. I want to do more sort of weightlifting sort of regime. And next minute, we were thrown into sort of like, I remember just being sort of stuck on this. Oh wait, no, but we've got the regime. And in a way, it's kind of like I knew the answers, but didn't expect them to sort of want to some of them to want to deviate from that and suddenly to make quick sort of changes in that environment. But it helped to have the fact that we knew them. It helped prepare us for the next class where we were bringing in more people who we didn't know, and having that sort of prep there, that training, it prepared me greatly for the next class then. And I'm so glad that we had that sort of few test runs with a set of people we knew, which in a way replicated this sort of tool that we talk about here, having a kind of pressure on that you don't expect. And I suppose with a tool like that, it provides the unexpected as well. It may do that for you, and that's what you kind of need. It's dealing with the unexpected.
100%.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we were trying to be reductionistic, that's key. If it even becomes slightly expected, you've removed the possibility of a mimicked real life scenario. Like if you look at if you look at the neuroscience behind it in terms of the way we function as individuals, we are prediction correction algorithms. You know, it might be we think, you know, we've both got long-time partners, so we come home and we like they're in a mood of something, you know, in that way. And you know, it might be that their verbal cadence is similar to the last time they were in a mood, or they're doing something that was the same as last time they were in the mood. But when we ask them, they just, I'm just tired. I've just had a long day, or whatever it is, and they're just fatigued. So we try to predict, but we make a correction based on new information so that next time that then pops up, we're better equipped to make more informed decisions about what's going on with our respective partners in that scenario. So it's like that 10,000 hours rule to mastery, right? You put 10,000 hours into anything and you know, you will achieve mastery. I'm telling you that if I sat at the piano for 10,000 hours and just did, I don't know, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, I'd be fucking awesome at Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but nothing else. But nothing, right? There needs to be a target. So when it comes to pressure, when it comes to threat, there needs to be a design around it. That's the only way that people are going to be able to understand how they can function, actually use the kind of skills in a simulated, pressured environment. I was going through a group session with some of my guys that I work with on a Sunday, and we were going through. I was about to go off on one in terms of what we were going through. The long and short of it is we were doing some memory and observation training. Right, that's the long and short of it is. And I got to this stage where I was about to show 2 videos, back to back.
Yeah.
And I said to them at the start, one of them I'm going to ask you questions about. One of them I'm not.
Nice.
Right, so in that scenario, you can't separate your awareness. You've got to pay attention to it all in order to be able to answer. So that's already a mimicked real life scenario. The questions and purpose and situations that can arise, given the nature of human behavior, are such that you can't prepare for them. And then what I did afterwards is I did ask them questions about one video. And then 2 weeks later, I asked them questions about the other. Right?
Just to add that edge, yeah.
And that's the thing. What we're looking at is engagement. You can use all the memory techniques in the world, all the observation techniques in the world. But if you're not engaged in the information that you're looking at, if you're not actually paying attention, if you're not giving it some kind of purpose, relevance, whatever it is, then those techniques that you're trying to use, you may as well be pissing it into the wind. They're not really going to do. They're not really going to do a great deal for you because you haven't got the attention needed to create that kind of permanence of information about it. Which, you know, another guy that I work with. Go on, sorry, mate. Carry on.
I was going to say you can be physically present, but if you're not mentally present, then you're just in the presence of sound and sight. If you do nothing with them, that'll be it. That's all it is. That's all they will remain. Noise and colours.
100%. One of the guys that I work with on a one-on-one basis, we were going through some memory training. He was seeking to be more attentive to the information that exists in his life with regard to his partner, to his friends, to his business, to, the things that he gets involved in that kind of thing. And we go through a variety of techniques. That he smashes the kind of rules surrounding, memorized capacity. He's doing 20, 30, 40, 50 things at a time with ease. Yeah. And then we got to the end of it, and I was like, okay, so what else did we talk about besides the techniques? And he went,
I don't know. I suppose that just gives him did it give him insight as to how much bigger it is?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next time when we met after that, we worked on attention. We worked on the kind of prediction correction algorithm of focus. If you're coming to a situation expecting a technique that will, supercharge your brain, it will to a certain degree. But then I ask you something about one of those moments where you're trying to predict less focus is needed. You're fucked. You're fucked, right? So you lean into the prediction correction algorithm in a differing sense of predicting real world scenarios, in that a prediction is a form of bias. Like I was trying to explain to a group of people a while back, and it will come connected to another thing that I've got to tell you about shortly, is people would talk about, so how do you spot lies? I was like, well, you don't. You figure it out. Wait, what? Isn't that the same thing? No. No. That is like walking outside on a night out in an effort to find a woman you're attracted to.
Yeah.
And yet, if you were to walk out and just accept the information that you see, it is a much richer resource of information. And they were still like, huh? I'm like, how do you look for a lie? Well, I would spot for this, spot for this, spot for that. I'm not, no. If you're looking for a lie, you're already biased.
Yeah, 100%.
I was like, what you're doing is you're Google searching, but in your head. If I was to... tell you what, right? Make up some kind of crackpot conspiracy theory right now. Make one up. Hopefully not based on anything, but the sky is actually purple.
I am still under the stairs. I just also sleep there as well.
Something that I can Google. If I talk about sleeping with men under stairs, it's going to be a different thing.
It's got to be flat Earth, isn't it?
But make one up. Make one up now. Flat Earth is a conspiracy theory that exists. But if you the Earth is actually triangle shaped.
The Earth is actually a juggling ball in the juggling process of a man's juggling act.
The Earth is actually a juggling ball in the process of, that's a full stop, of a man's juggling act. Let's see what we get.
In a man's juggling balls.
So what we get is a Philip Petit's philosophy on juggling, on how it's a globally recognized way of collating people and collecting people. The science of juggling that's been mastering systems thinking in practice from the Open University. Talking about juggling theories is a lot like juggling balls in this kind of way. So if you aren't filled with the capacity to analyze this properly, you have entered into a bias just from some thought that has existed in your head. The same as like a lie detection. If you are setting out to look for a lie, you're already in the land of confirmation bias. So you just figure it out.
Yeah.
After, and that's the nature of the bringing of reality towards training. It's got to be done with a purpose. It's got to be done with a point. Within the right context, I could punch anyone in the face.
True.
So could you.
If you're out to punch someone in the face, it's going to punch someone in the face.
Right. So could you. That's the thing. Like, you could phrase a question like. Would you fight Mike Tyson?
Would I fight Mike Tyson? I would if he wanted a round two. The little fairy.
but that's the thing.
No, I would not.
But that situation is based on a specific context. If it was a life or death scenario, you would. Well, you would at least be more inclined to consider it in that way.
In that sense, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely.
there needs to be a target towards your training. If you're training specifically to fight Mike Tyson, there is a very specific way that you train in that way. If you're training to deduce and observe the world, there is a very specific way of doing that with a specific kind of pressure. Same for chefs, builders, thinkers, musicians, all of this kind of thing. Bringing pressure into the way that you work has a kind of direction and a way of proving to you where you are in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's all I have to say about that. But it connects to a lot of the work that I found with a guy called Bob Pointer, who runs the Behavioral Intelligence Academy. He is a guy who is, by his own admission, forever curious, forever exploring. And to his credit, he is, and to his credit as well, he's very much like us in the sense that if somebody says something, he'll be the first in line to go, well, that's bollocks. That's bollocks. Yeah. And the good thing about Bob is the methods that he devises for for achieving a certain thing. Like, this is a guy that spent 30 years working in Scotland Yard throughout the investigative practices, throughout the fraud divisions and these kinds of things. He was actually with Jim Wenzel when the podcast came back. He was a member of that interview team that we did. The first interview that we did, it was Bob and Jim Wenzel, and
Nice.
so I'm actually running a course for Bob towards the end of the month. It's called Productive Communications, and I have a little trailer for that as well. I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
One of the many things that we now struggle with following the last few years is our ability to communicate with each other, to communicate accurately and effectively, to really hear what another person is saying. After all, as human beings, we can't not communicate. Which is why I'm bringing to you the Behavioral Intelligence Academy's Productive Communications course. 2 hours. That's all I'm asking. 2 hours in which to level up the insight that you can bring to every single conversation that you have from here on out. Making sure that the insight that you provide to those that you are interacting with is truly something that's going to benefit all parties involved. I look forward to seeing you there.
Nice.
Right?
Nice. Yeah.
And it's one of those things, when you think about it, our ability to talk to each other was wildly hindered by COVID and everything else. The amount of people that aren't capable of really hearing another person's point of view because they're too busy trying to talk or only hearing parts of their own confirmation bias. If it is like, I'm going to muck up the exact quote, but it's I believe it's Patton Oswalt, who was like, we need to respect everyone's beliefs and respect everyone's views, and Patton was like, no, we don't. We need to listen and have a conversation with them, but then we reserve the right to tell them that they're idiots if their beliefs are based on nothing. In that way, 100%, but that's a comedian's point of view, I grant you. But the notion goes across.
There's a bit of realism in there. There's a bit of truth in there, though, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times, right? It's become kind of a thing of the 2020s that if someone doesn't agree with you on whatever it is, you're a bigot.
Yeah.
Right, and granted, there is a huge degree of bigotry that might go on within that area. But there are those that just simply don't agree with you.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
To truly understand where it is that they're coming from and have a more productive and effective conversation that achieves a mutually beneficial end, you really have to know how to talk to somebody else, right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
Jim puts it great. It's the difference between reacting professionally and reacting emotionally.
Yeah.
One is born of
That's
reason
it.
and one
Yeah.
isn't.
And that would be very, very beneficial, because it's like people do disagree. Of course they do. They disagree on certain things. And sometimes you may feel like you have to passionately disagree with something. You've seen those arguments where people will adamantly suddenly turn tail on a statement someone makes and react not the best to something. They may be justified in their reaction, but it's not the best reaction. And when pushed for a reason for their reaction, they can't explain themselves very well. And I think in those situations, sometimes you can disagree, but not really know why you're disagreeing, simply because it's an emotional disagreement. If you can learn to articulate that and learn to fully understand why you're disagreeing, you can also disagree in a much more healthier way, because that can impact mental health as well. If you don't really know
100%, mate.
what people can be sometimes isolate themselves with standoffish behavior, but they may have a point in what they're saying, and they may not need to isolate themselves or distance themselves from other people within their arguments. And they may be able to, if with this kind of training, explain themselves or look deeper into why are intellectually why, and know the reason why they disagree with the statements, and how they can articulate it better, and how they can communicate it better more than anything. I think that's highly beneficial. You see too many people in an argument that's heated, and you see really awful outcomes. Rarely do you see arguments where it ends with, well, okay, yeah, I understand your point, don't agree,
Exactly.
but let's enjoy the rest of our day.
100%. 100%. You know, it's that old thing of, just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I don't like you.
Yeah.
Right? And
So
this whole aspect,
still
don't get
having
me
a good
wrong.
time.
Exactly. This whole thing, don't get me wrong, it's not specific to arguing, but that's the most readily available example. You know, it's the proper compassionate understanding that is involved in the technical properties of communicating effectively. How a conversation works, why a conversation works, and therefore why it doesn't work. So if you understand both aspects, this is the point that we've been talking about the whole time. If you understand both aspects of why it works and why it doesn't, you are better equipped to bring this kind of effective communication style into everything that it is that you do. So that will be another thing as well that I will put a link to in the box below. Sorry, mate, you go for it.
I was just going to say, at the result, at the end of the result of it will be, it's healthier for here more than anything. No one wants to come away from an argument feeling like they still have more to say, or they didn't come across very well, and from that experience, trauma can happen. You never know how it might affect someone in the next time they argue with someone. It could be a worse outcome. Could be, they may lose the confidence to debate or even argue their point. So it's just better for here, isn't it? It's just a healthier way of going about it.
Perfect. Now, so it's a lovely treat to end on this kind of positivity, which we normally end on, like, you know, a bum note, like an attempt at some kind of humorous jibe, but like that's specifically sincere commentary that we've made there in that way. So we're going to leave it there. So with that in mind, folks, we do hope that you've enjoyed.
Oh no! I'm going to go find Mike Tyson.
Brilliant. So now, with that in mind, folks, we're going to love you and leave you, and we shall talk to you next time. Take care.
In a bit.
Bye. Bye-bye.